Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hey, quick story time. This morning, I wake up, get ready, Saturday morning, was not in a rush. My wife's like, hey, why don't we head on down to Total Wine? I want to pick out something for my dad for his birthday. So we do. Right place, right time, because I got there right as they put these bad boys out on the shelf. They had three of them, one per person, and I got Numero Trace. What do you say we dive into it, break this bad boy open, and see if it's worth all the hype, yeah? So, Blanton's, all right? This is like, the unicorn bottle everyone's talking about, everyone's trying to hunt down. It's been that way for a while now, just because of the nature of how much of this goes out, the nature of their distribution, which has been pretty dicey. I mean, now they're like currently suing their former distributor. It's a whole thing, right? So, getting your hands on Blanton's is a challenge for most people in most states. And so, in fact, if you were to look for this on the secondary market, you see price increases on this thing on the secondary market that is just ridiculous compared to other bottles out there. Other bottles they're like, oh yeah, 15% markup here on the secondary, 20% markup on the secondary. With Blanton's, they're like, 300% markup. Yeah, it's a $65 bottle. You go looking for it online, some people are going to be like, 180 bucks, man. You can have it for 180 bucks. It's nuts. Absolutely bonkers. I have never owned a bottle of Blanton's, but I've had a lot of Blanton's, right? I've had pours at bars, at bottle shares, stuff like that. People sent me samples of Blanton's. I've had plenty of Blanton's, but I've never felt compelled to go buy it on the secondary for those prices. And I'll never forget, one guy's advice to me was, listen, don't go hunting those unicorn bottles on the secondary and paying stupid prices for it. You're never going to have all the whiskey in the world, right? You're just not going to, your shelf is not going to have every highly sought after bottle at the same time ever, right? Unless you're stupid rich and make bad choices. But, anyways, so he said, listen, one of these days you're going to be in the right place at the right time. As long as you got the cash on hand, boom, you can get Blanton's. That's really exactly what happened. It didn't even occur to me that today was Derby Day. It's Kentucky Derby Day. And I was in the right place at the right time to get the horsey, right? And, now I'm making a mental note. Next year on Derby Day, first thing in the morning, I'm going to Total Wine because maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Maybe that's the trick or the secret. It'll get posted up on my shelf. Now, I am not a Blanton's fanatic, right? I'm not the guy out there that's like, Blanton's is the best stuff I've ever had in my life. It's not, okay? There's a lot of whiskey I like more than Blanton's. But I definitely, as a collector, I want to have the bottle on my shelf. It's a no-brainer at MSRP because that's the thing. Like, as a $200, $150 whiskey on the secondary, it doesn't taste good enough to be that expensive. It just doesn't to me. 65 bucks at Total Wine? Yes. In terms of value for your money, absolutely. Buy it every time at that price. On the secondary, no. So that's what I did. Took my friend's advice. I waited until I was in the right place at the right time to get this special juice from Warehouse H there at Buffalo Trace. Well, the packaging was pretty cool. Two of the bottles, like I said, there were three of them. Two of them didn't come in a box. They had like this black mesh around them, just the bottle itself sitting out there on a little barrel they had posted up for display. And the one that I got was the only one that was in a box. And the box is pretty cool. It's actually a pretty cool little packaging situation they got going on here. You open the top tab, and then you can see the horsey. It's just a black piece of cardboard there, and the horsey sticking up, and then you're like, ooh, and it's got these little things that say pull here, and you pull it, and you pull the bottle out, and it came in this black mesh, or not mesh. It came in this black velvet bag, like they're like, oh, this is the fine stuff, you know what I mean? And then you pull it out, and there you go. So Blanton's got that beautiful hand grenade, design. One of the reasons people like these is just because of the bottling, the presentation is so top notch, and you got the horsey, of course, with the jockey on top. Homage to Kentucky. And as you can tell, I have not popped the wax seal on this yet, so we're gonna do that right now. So let's open this bad boy. It's got these little tabs that say "pull" on them. See these cute little tabs? Like they clearly take their packaging seriously. Little crack of the wax there. That is off. And there you go. Take that off too. There we go. There's our horsey. And some people are out there collecting all the letters. This is N, right? You see the N on the back heel. I don't know if the camera is going to focus on that or not, but right on the back heel of the horse here is the N in Blanton. So some collectors out there look for all the letters so they can have every horsey top, right? Here's the fun part. Get it right next to the microphone for this, you know? Oh, it didn't do like a little thunk, right? There was no thunk. You normally get that thunk. This one was just popped straight out. No thunk. I prefer a good thunk. Oh, that was a little squeak. But now it's time to pour. Ooh, very rich caramely nose. What's that I'm getting on that? I get hit with that sweetness right up front. It reminds me of rock candy. Like when I was a kid, and anytime we'd go to like, you remember this when we were kids and we go to, our parents take us to like zoos and museums on vacations to go check out these cool places. They always have a gift shop at the end of it. I don't know what it is about those places and rock candy, but they always had those rock candy on a stick, you know what I'm saying? And as a kid, it just, I don't know, something about that design was so appealing. We were like, Mom, Dad, I have to have that. And I'm like, you sure? Like, yeah, that's what I want. And so I remember that smell, that taste distinctly. And I get that. Right on the nose is just that sweet, hard rock candy. Some darker caramel notes on this. Not like your young butterscotch, more like your rich caramels. This bourbon whiskey was dumped on 11/17, November 17th of 2022. So that's fairly recent, right? That's fairly recent. After getting bottled from barrel 3808 on Rick number 27. Is 93 proof. So it doesn't have that young butterscotch, you know, it's 6 to 8 years on Blanton's, and it's a single barrel. But I definitely get that oak influence right up there on the nose too. Like I said, that rock candy on the stick, that's the wood in there. I get that oak for sure. Not an overly complex nose, but it is definitely appealing. And there's a crispness to it too, a little crisp. I don't know if that's like a flavor or a note, but I just kind of get crisp vibes, like cold air, you know? Like that sensation you get in your nose when you take a deep breath on a cold day when you can see your breath. Nice and viscous. You know, I would love to get a bottle of the gold label too. You get that extra 10 proof points on it, so that's the trade-off. So the gold label, it's an international bottle, which was like really popular in Japan. And so you get less volume. I think it was 700 milliliters, right? In the bottle instead of 750. But the trade-off is that you get 10 extra points of proof point. So it's got a little more bite to it. It's not diluted as much. Tennessee limestone water. They hold the water a little bit more. Time to try it. Cheers. You know, that's interesting. The nose, the sweetness is really forward on it. That rock candy. That sweetness of that rock candy doesn't come in the palate until the finish. It is not front and center. It kind of trails everything else into the room. That crispness that I got on the nose, I get plenty of that on the palate up front. Get that ethanol hit. It's not a ton, you know. It's not a ton of alcohol up front. But you get a little bit of that hit up front. And then you get sort of like a white peppercorn kind of a note, like a light peppercorn. Maybe a little bit of like a minty kind of a vibe too up front. It's that clean crispness. And then the oak and the sweetness of that hard candy and caramel, they come in afterwards. Sip number 2, now that my palate's a little more acclimated to it. A little different. Get a little bit of that sweetness now that my palate's kind of like, oh, okay, we're having whiskey now. It's like, oh, you didn't tell me. You didn't warn me. Now it's ready for it. A little bit more of that sweetness up front. A little bit of that tannic oak as well. That oak influence coming through a little bit more prevalent the second time around. Kind of hangs with it a bit. That's a really tasty $65 whiskey. It is not overly complex. It does not take you on a journey. It just takes you straight to Kentucky. You know, it just takes you straight to Kentucky. Get a little bit of that I don't want to say peppermint. It's more like, I don't know, spearmint refreshment kind of a vibe that comes through, and a little bit of that white peppercorn from the rye. It's not overly complex. It's straight to the point, but that point is well made. It's a good point. I think my friend was absolutely right. That is a delicious $65 whiskey. Absolutely. I'd buy that for $65 all day, every day. I would not consider this to be worth the secondary market price. The only way I could justify that, there's a couple things or reasons, I guess, people would be willing to pay that, and I would say, you know what, I get it. First and foremost, maybe you've been not in the right place at the right time for too long, and your dry streak is too long, and you're like, I really just want to see what the buzz is about, and I'm willing to lose some money on it. It's your money. And if you choose, it's got, it's worth that. It's got that much value to you just to get it, cross it off your list. Fine. Totally fine. Yeah. And you want to pay that secondary price and lose some money on it? Perfectly fine. I couldn't fault you for it. Otherwise, if you were a collector and you were hunting certain bottles for your shelf, and it's worth it to get it up on your shelf and to fill that spot that you've been reserving for it, I get it. I totally get it. You want to pay a secondary price for it, that's fine. But if you just want to drink it, you just want to drink a good whiskey, do not pay the secondary market price for this stuff. It is a good $65 whiskey. Is it better than some of my other $65 whiskeys? I'm going to be honest with you. There's some stuff on my shelf that I like more than this at the same price point. That Penelope, the Architect, I like Architect more than this. Is this bad? Absolutely not. I just like that more. Can I say something a little sacrilege? You know what I actually overall just like a little bit more? I'm going to be honest, and it costs $30 less. Eagle Rare. 10-year. This 6 to 8 years. Eagle Rare, 10 years. Not a single barrel, but it's 10-year-old bourbon. Mash bill number 1, not 2. So lower on the rye, but it's older juice. $35 MSRP. And you know what? Total Wine had this out there today too. $35 a bottle. And I couldn't get it because I already had a bottle of this, and they're limiting all their Buffalo Trace products for 1 per person. So this was what I picked up. But I'm going to keep it totally real with you guys. Good whiskey. Worth the price tag. Not my favorite. And this isn't me being mean to Buffalo Trace, because I literally just told you, I actually like Eagle Rare more. I do. I think Eagle Rare is delicious. $35 is a steal for a 10-year-old whiskey. I should start rating whiskeys. That's what I should do. Because I've been reviewing so many of them, but I've just kind of given my thoughts on it. But I should assign them a numerical value. Well, let me just get my notepad out here and whip up a quick system. Okay, this is a time jump. I actually spent a fair amount of time coming up with this system. So we'll stick with it. I'll put up a graphic or something so you can see my system here, my scale I came up with. But here we go. So here's how the scoring is going to work. A 1 to a 3.9 is anywhere from bad, just bad whiskey. Obviously on the low end of that, up to the 3s to the 3.9 is, it's not great. Maybe a buy at a 3.9. Be like, maybe buy this if you just want to try it and see what it's like. Then we get to the next major section, which is 4 all the way up to 6.9. Okay? Which was anywhere between, a 4 would be like, it's okay. 5 might mean decent. 6.9 would be like, yeah, that's pretty decent stuff. That's good. It's good. This good whiskey. Okay? Maybe buy it. And then we start getting into the big boys here. Anywhere between a 7 and an 8. So 7 all the way up to 7.9 to 8.0. Real good. That's real good whiskey. Wow, man, I'm glad I got that bottle. That's real good. 8.1 to 8.9. Fantastic. Holy, that is fantastic whiskey. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic. I gotta keep that on my shelf. And now we get into the ones that's like, is anything ever gonna get here? I don't know. 9 to 9.9 is phenomenal. Just knocked my socks off. I couldn't say a bad thing about it. Phenomenal whiskey. And then a 10 would just be perfection. Maybe one day there's a bottle that hits perfection. I don't know, but I doubt it. But 10, I'll just reserve that 10 number to be perfection. So with that scale in mind, where are we going to place the Blantons? Where's Blanton's going to land on that scale for me? A little horsey. Oh, you're going to... Oh, I'm backwards. It'll go this way. Where's Blanton's going to fall? I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it a 7.2. I'm going to give it a 7.2. That's real good. That's good. That's real good. That's real good whiskey. This is real good stuff. For 65 bucks, can I dock it? I mean, I got some qualms with it. I would love a little more complexity out of something that's a unicorn bottle for folks. For it being so highly sought after, for it being so highly marked up on the secondary, for all of that fuss, I would want more complexity out of it. The finish does not hang on for very long. The finish arrives, and just like the racehorse on the top, she gone. But it's real good. I can't really knock it for being a $65 whiskey. At that price point, 7.2. That's real good stuff. Hey, thanks for tuning in and helping me experience this, guys. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me that y'all are here, especially for some of these harder to find bottles. I gotta say a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Hey, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for the support that you give me here on this channel. The Patreon money is what I use to fund the bottles that we buy for the show, for the channel. Otherwise, my wife is not at the point now where she's going to allow me to use my own money. She's like, no, you're not going to use our money on whiskey. Have you seen your shelf? So you guys, the only way I can do it. So I appreciate you very, very much. And she's absolutely right, by the way. Let's find a good home for this. We'll put it right down there next to the Weller and the Eagle Rare because it just makes sense. Thanks again, everybody. Cheers. May you live richly and get better with age. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.